You're listening to Pathways and Means, a podcast that inspires and shows people how to tap into their creative spirit. We sit down with leaders and makers in every industry to talk about their process, what inspires them, and about how to build incredible things with the power of creativity. The future belongs to the creators, so come join us. This is Pathways and Means.
Welcome again to another episode of Pathways Means, and we have a special guest for you today. This man, he owns Schindel, Green Pest Solutions, a partner at Iron Rail, and some people call this man Mr. Topeka. Not to be confused. I know there's been some people who have called me Mr. Topeka, but hey, I'm just Mr. Topeka Jr. So without any further ado, I want to welcome to Pathways Means Brent Boles. How you doing today, sir?
Good. Thanks for having me, SJ. And hey, I just got to ask you a question. You probably say a special guest every time you do this.
Maybe.
Okay. I just want to make sure.
But see, you're an extra special guest.
Oh, okay.
For the simple fact that your son-in-law is one of my best friends, Austin Robertson.
I'm sorry.
Yes, it's difficult, because that man. I'm not going to talk about him. He's not here to defend himself. But Brent, there's a young man named Taylor Buckley. And I know that he works for you, but he has said some things about you as far as you've been the greatest business mind that he's came in contact with. And he just pretty much gives you so much credit for where he's at. What ignited your entrepreneurial spirit?
Well, I think I was probably a late blossoming entrepreneur. I mean, I'd been involved in a business for 20 years, Schindel Pest Services, and it was really getting involved in our community and getting involved in the Chamber of Commerce and starting to see how others in our community were working to make our city better. And that kind of ignited me wanting to be a part of that, not just from volunteering on boards, but also what could I do in the business community that would add value to Topeka, Kansas. So I think that really was when I started looking at different business opportunities outside of the one I had been involved in for 20 years.
Now, that's pretty amazing. So we're talking community, we're talking business. What was your very first job, and how old were you?
Oh man, I had, and I say one paper route, I actually had two paper routes. My neighbor friend and I would get up at 4:00 on Tuesday mornings and deliver penny power.
Penny power. That was my first job as well.
And we thought, gosh, we can make a lot of money doing this, and we did that for several years. So that was probably from about 12 to 14. And then I had the good fortune of getting a job at Wendy's, at age
Where's
14.
the beef? Remember those commercials?
Oh, yeah. I had plenty of beef and Frosties and French fries, and so.
Yeah, so that's funny. But I used to deliver penny power. I took over the route from my older brother.
Okay.
And that was, we're talking 83. When I used to do that. So I was underage. I wasn't the right age to do it. I was younger. And I messed the penny power route up bad. And I pretty much got let go. So, so as far as some of the different people that you have brought to Topeka, there's our CEO of the GTP, Greater Topeka Partnership. I know you had something to do with bringing him to Topeka. What did you see in Matt Pavarnik, and how difficult of a task was it to get him to relocate here?
Well, there was a whole lot of people involved in getting Matt here, and I had the good fortune of being on the committee that was a part of that. We met Matt when we did an inner city visit to Tulsa, Oklahoma. He was kind of our concierge, if you will, to the chamber inner city visit participants. And so we spent several days with them, got to play a round of golf with them, and just, got to really see a side of Matt that we all really loved and appreciated. And so lo and behold, we're out looking for a replacement to head up the chamber and go to Topeka. And several of us just said, man, you remember that guy we met in Tulsa? So we'd hired a search committee and put Matt on that list and said, hey, will you reach out to him and just see if he'd have interest? Because, several of us thought he would be perfect for this community. And you ask why? Well, he had extreme energy, as you can see today, right? He had extreme passion. He spoke with a great deal of knowledge about some of the things that impact communities. He was very concerned about diversity and creating small business ecosystems that would propel cities, and just all the things that we felt like Topeka was lacking, we thought Matt had. And so when we learned from the search committee that he was interested, I would tell you, I think we all really zoned in on Matt as hopefully someone that we could recruit, and lo and behold, we were able to do that. So,
no, that's pretty amazing. Well, one thing is, in some of my conversations with Matt, although I know there was a committee and everything involved, he said that you were pretty relentless, as far as even when he had said no a few times, you didn't accept that.
Well, when he brought Wendy, his wife, to town, and she was the closer.
Okay. Shout out to Wendy.
we thought highly of Matt. Then we met Wendy, and we're like, all right, we've got to have this guy. And so I don't think we were going to take no easily. But at the same time, you don't want someone here that doesn't see what we see and doesn't recognize opportunity. And so Matt, in meeting all of our elected officials and people like you and just people in our community, I think that's what sold Matt on the opportunity to come to Topeka is everyone that he engaged with over 3 or 4 visits to our community.
Well, I've got some inside information about Wendy and about Walmart. So I heard there was a story that happened when she ended up coming up here with Matt. Whenever she goes to different towns, she goes to the Walmarts. And depending on how she feels about the people in that Walmart will determine on what it is. And she told me that was the determining factor.
Wow.
Walmart.
All right. Had no idea.
Well, let's talk culture. Because I know that you're friends and you're business partners with Cody Foster, one of our previous guests, the Culture King over there at Advisors Excel. How do you approach culture at Schindel and all your other businesses? Well,
we think it's extremely important, and we protect it very strongly. So, we're a company in which you can do a lot of things wrong, but if you don't embrace and engage in our culture, you're probably not the right fit. We have our mission. One of the statements in there is to have a safe and fun workplace. So we want our workplace to have a lot of energy. We want people to enjoy themselves. We want laughter, but we want to take care of business, and we don't want people there that are whining about things that could be different. We're all a part of a culture that has an opportunity to make it better, but those that want to try to make it worse aren't welcome. So we just push.
No, I can appreciate that. I know I've heard that for an employee's success, it's really dependent on the position they put in, like the manager, how they work with some of the employees and things like that. Because you talked about being safe. And if somebody doesn't feel safe at a job, then there's a lot of uncertainty.
Absolutely.
There. And when there's uncertainty there could be fear. There could be all kinds of different things that will make an employee clam up, not open up, work scared, and everything like that. So I know it's very important.
And as leaders, we have to recognize people's fears are different than ours. And so if that fear is sexual harassment, we don't know what happened in the past that may create that fear for someone, or if it's lack of diversity in a workplace, or if it's, a boss that manages through intimidation. There's all kinds of things that can impact a culture. And so when we talk about safe, we talk about providing a culture in which those things don't exist, that there isn't anything that would make people fear coming to work every day. And if there is, then we have to look at ourselves and go, what can we do to make it better?
Now, what are some of your, I'll say, what are you excited about with some of your current leaders and future leaders with Schindel and Green Pest Solutions? Because I know that you've always got things up your sleeve. You're always on a constant elevation and improvement and things like that. So what are some of those things that you're really hopeful for, and even some of the future leaders of Topeka?
Well, my business partners, Schindel on Landscape and Green Pest Solutions, Aaron Jones and Brandon Moore, and I are spending a lot of time talking about this 10-year plan in which we have these young leaders in our company, and I would mention them by name. I might forget some, and I don't want to do that, but one of which, you mentioned Taylor Buckley, and we have several others that we're looking at. How do we develop them in the next 5 to 10 years, in which, I'm going to age out soon, right? I'm going to work less. So who's going to kind of pick up that slack? My two partners are younger than me, but they've got a runway of another 10 years. So how do we prepare our company for, that true succession of young leaders? And we have them on board. We have to figure out how to develop them, train them, teach them, mentor them, so that they have the skills to handle that. That's what we are working on. And I'm probably talking about things that some of them don't even know at this point, but we're constantly having those conversations.
No, I mean, this doesn't strike me as strange. The reason, like I said, your name rings bells out there, the inner rooms before you're already in them, and stuff like that. So as far as it's no secret that you're a great business mind. So it makes sense that you'd be looking at the 5-year, 10-year plan and all those things like that. Do you have any advice for the small business owners, especially locally? Because Topeka is a little different than other places and stuff like that, and you've been out here plowing these fields for some time as far as in the business world. Is there anything that you could say to any small business owners that they should take heed of, or something that could be helpful for them, even if it's just some principles?
That's a question with a lot of different answers. I think first and foremost,
that's why I asked it.
Yeah. Well, let me start with, I think we all have to continue to develop ourselves. I think life continues to teach us lessons that just mount on top of each other and give us opportunities. I think there's, books and podcasts and seminars, and there's all different ways to get better every day. And I think small business people have to do that. It used to be difficult. Well, now if you need an answer to something, you can find it on the internet. It's on YouTube. It's on Google. I mean, just find it, right?
And if it's on the internet, it's true.
Well, okay. Fair point. But we can learn more through other people's mistakes and successes than we can our own. And that's number one.
That's
I think
solid.
Small business people have to do. Number two, if I often have people pitch ideas to me about different businesses, and the first thing I ask them is there a need? And if there is a need, what is your competitive advantage for that need? And if you can't answer those two questions, then you need to go back and rethink what you're doing, because businesses fail because people have ideas that they think work for themselves, but they don't test the market. So if there's a need, perfect. But now you have to find out, what is your competitive advantage? How are you going to compete? And I think in today's Amazon society culture that we live in, the only way to compete in small businesses is to do it with a better experience than your competitors. So, whether you're killing bugs or mowing grass, we never talk about those things. We talk about the entire experience from the time that customer calls us till the time they receive an invoice. that whole experience is what we focus on in pieces. So phone call, how do we improve that? Billing, how do we improve that? Service delivery, how do we improve that? So it becomes this challenge of how are you gonna, outdo your competitors? Because I think so often we forget, you have a great idea, there's a need for it, but you have to be better than everyone else to succeed.
That was such of a solid answer. I mean, there was so much in it. Thank you for that. You mentioned experience. Experience is what actually is transformational for people. You could be in a situation to where I just had a transformation this weekend. Brent, you might know, you might not, but Top Tier, the nonprofit, we ran the volunteers for the country stampede this weekend.
Thank you and congratulations. That's awesome.
I appreciate that, and we appreciate your kind words. But when you're out there and you're doing some of these things, you have to pivot at different times where something didn't work or this didn't work or whatever. And I came back with so many takeaways because of the experience. Now, this was the second year in a row, but so much simpler from the first year. Now, more challenges came about and everything, but we had more volunteers. Most of the volunteers were repeat volunteers, so they were already knowing what the terrain was and everything. But there has to be something that transforms you when you're having the experience of going through something, because you could read it in a book, you could see it in a movie or whatever, but if you haven't actually went and put your hands on it or experienced the whole process, it won't change you.
Right.
So with that, what's next for Brent Boles? Do you have any other projects on the horizon that nobody knows about, or maybe it's not here yet, or whatever? I know that you've got a lot of things up your sleeve. Is there anything you're willing to let out?
I have to be careful in case my wife listens to this, because I promised her there wouldn't be many other projects. But, I would say stay tuned. We have exciting things going on at Iron Rail that we think will add another element to our city and downtown that'll be kind of fun. I won't get into a great deal about that, but
it's coming. It's coming, guys.
Yeah,
keep your eyes open.
We are continuing our geographical expansion for Green Pest Solutions, entering into the Kansas City market and further west into Kansas. So that has us all really busy. As far as new startup things, I don't know that I have anything in particular outside of just current core business we have.
Makes sense. Let me ask you this last question, Brent, and we're gonna wrap up. Now, you do a lot of things on very high levels with business and otherwise. What do you do for your mental health and even your regular health? Because you're a fit guy. I think you might do CrossFit. I eat croissants. They're kind of similar. But what are some of the things you do for your exercise, for your physical health, and some of the things how you unwind for your mental health? Do you have anything that you...
Yeah, tequila. Before the tequila. I've always, and I shouldn't say I tell you a funny story. When I got out of Washburn, I spent 6 years in California and was all over California working for a company. We're in Sacramento, California. And I had spent the last 5 years entertaining clients back in the era in which expense accounts were really big. Your job was to buy people food and take them out to dinner and lunch and all of that just constantly. And I'd gained an extra 25 pounds and wasn't exercising. And I went to a chiropractor and I'd hurt my back and he helps me and his words to me, I said, what can I do to prevent this? And he said, well, the bottom line is, he said, you're fat and sedentary, and excuse my language, but until you get up off your ass and do something, you're gonna have back problems the rest of your life. And I mean, that was like, wow. I mean, I'm 28 years old or 27 years old. That was just shocking to me. So that day I made a phone call to a friend who got me on a bicycle, and later he'd get me involved in running. And that was 25 plus years ago that I continue to run, bike, swim, every day for my mental health, for my physical health. It's just what I do. And then I relax with a glass of tequila.
I can dig it. And I also lied because I have another question for you.
Fire away.
The restaurant business. What has been the most challenging part of that? And when COVID hit, how creative did you guys have to be to continue to survive?
So the most challenging part of the restaurant business is the restaurant business. And
that's good.
You know, I often have people talk to me about it. It's a hard business. And with that said, let me answer your second question. COVID, there was no books. There were no podcasts to how to deal with pandemic in the restaurant industry. And to credit our team at Iron Rail, Lindsay and Jesse and Ty and led by Seth Wagner, they did get creative, and we pushed a lot of food out the front door with delivery. We did the ghost kitchen that I don't even know if people know that we ran a ghost kitchen out of Iron Rail.
I know a little bit about. I know the ghost.
Yeah, and
he's actually I can't spell the beans. Ghost kitchen.
Yeah, I mean it was ghost peppers, and it was we served a lot of great fajitas out of there, and we kept the doors open, and our government stepped up in a way that no one thought would happen. Gave us an opportunity to keep the doors open and get started again. And sales since COVID are up 25%. Oh, wow. So pre-COVID numbers, they're up 25%. So our community has come out and supported us and welcomed the restaurant business back since COVID, and that's been fantastic. We appreciate that.
Well, I was just there last night, and first time I ordered the lemonade. That lemonade is fire. If y'all ain't had it, you better get it. And I know the potato salad isn't on the menu yet, just for catering, but I hear it's magnificent. Get it, order it. Brent, thank you for being on for Pathways Means.
Thanks for having me, SJ. I appreciate everything you guys are doing. So.
Well, we appreciate everything you're doing and that you made time out of your busy schedule to come kick it with us on the 9th floor of Townside Plaza. That's where we're at, baby. So guys, stay tuned for more exciting guests as we continue, because there's more on the menu at Pathways Means.
Thanks so much for listening. We hope you found today's episode informative and inspiring. If you liked what you heard and you'd like to hear more, visit pathwaysmeans.com to check out a ton of additional content from the CPM team. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and TikTok, where we post daily content and engage with creators like you. Signing off for Pathways and Means, we'll see you next time.